Okay, it's probably been a good year, maybe even a year and a half since we posted anything on this channel, and just been really busy with work, to be brutally honest. Still have pretty much all of the engines, but yeah, just run out of time again to do videos. But we picked up an engine that I wanted for a little while now. It's a JAP Model 55, so it is the big twin cylinder air-cooled engine. So yeah, a bit of a beast. I have to refresh my memory on what sort of horsepower they are when they get to this sort of size. But yeah, she is a bit of a unit, a bit on the held heavy side. But yeah, I think we could probably make some videos of getting this going again, and then eventually we'll have to strip all this god-awful hammerite paint off of it and repaint it again, because it is ghastly. But for now, it seems like it's going to be a decent engine. The only thing we need to check out is the coil. I am getting a spark, but not getting any reading from the coil when we put a meter across it. So rather than just try and fire it up, I want to see first if that's just a loose connection or something in the magneto. Because if it is, this being an impulse mag, it'll just burn itself out if it's trying to jump a gap already. So yeah, we're just going to see what it does. So we're going to take the magneto off, which is a fairly simple process on these. You've only got 2 bolts, one at the top and one at the bottom of the magneto, and then we'll take that out of there, and we'll do a little bit of an explanation, I guess, of how we're going to test it, and also just how these impulse magnetos work. But yeah, first of all, we'll just get it off of there. The only thing I'm going to do now is I should just turn it over until the impulse clicks. So that's the impulse clicking. So now we're just going to look back at the back of the magneto again and turn it over until that impulse starts to engage again. There it is. So you can just see the magneto stops turning there, and that's where the catch of the impulse is. So that's caught up there, and then what that does is you obviously keep on turning the engine over to top dead center, and it releases the magneto under tension, which gives you a better spark for starting. And then once it's started, it automatically tards the timing itself 10 or so degrees, and then the engine can run quite happily. But yeah, let's get that off of there. Okay, we've managed to remove the magneto from the engine without too much hassle, and we just removed the top cover. These top covers on these YKA magnetos have a little brass pickup here, and they can often be bent out of shape, or like this one, have a little bit of corrosion on them. And because it's an impulse mag, it will still jump that spark. It'll jump it from the pickup where it should pick up to further up the pickup, but eventually that'll just cause burning, charring, and then it'll stop working. But that will prevent us from getting a reading to the coil with our multimeter. So now, with that removed, we should be able to test the coil, and if it's a good coil, we'll see this number go from 0 here to probably somewhere around 3.5 to 5,000 ohms, but anywhere sort of around 4,000 on a coil like this is going to be pretty good. So we've got our multimeter set to 20k ohms here, and then all we're going to do is test from that pickup on the coil to ground on the magneto. Core is probably the best ground you're going to get. It's hard to get a good connection. So there we go, we've got 4,500 ohms. So there's nothing wrong with that coil at all. These little brass connections just need cleaning up, and then we should be okay. And as long as once that's cleaned up, I can get a reading from the contact in the back of the cap here to the contact inside and through the coil, and get that same reading of about 4,500 ohms, then I'll be happy to chuck it back on the engine, and then we can pour some fuel down the throat of this beast and see if it'll go. Okay, we had to change the angle of that pickup on the coil quite dramatically and clean it up. But now when we test through the magneto, we're getting the same 4,500 ohms. So now I'm happy with that magneto. We'll be able to put that back on the engine now, and we can run that without the risk of it burning that pickup up on the coil. Yeah. So don't always take the fact that you've got a spark as an assumption that you've got a healthy magneto that's good to go. You really do need to check the resistance of the coils, and that's exactly how you do it. There's nothing to it really. A cheap little multimeter. That one there is from Lidl, I think. So yeah, probably was £5 or £6. So a cheap little multimeter, and 5 minutes, and you can tell if you've got a good magneto or if you've got one that needs just a little bit of work like that one did. Nothing too drastic. Everything else in there is good, nice and clean. I don't know if you'll be able to see them. They spark one after the other, so that one's going to spark now, and then that one, and over here again. So yeah, they're both sparking now. The distributor on the magneto is working. So yeah, we can throw these plugs back in. We'll put a little bit of fuel down her throat. See if she barks off. See what happens. Okay, we've got some decent fueling problems. This tap here to change it over from petrol or paraffin is leaking. The carburettor appeared to be full of water. We have got a little drain plug on it, which we have used to drain it down. So this is the first time. I've got no starting handle for it, so we're just going to try and see if it'll go with a little flick of the flywheel. We'll see what happens. We should really, in theory, be ready to pull the plug on it, but we'll see what happens. Oh, she's got some compression. Okay, we've got some fuel down the plug holes, so let's see, we might have a bit more luck now. Oh, she scares me. Okay, that was a little bit of something. Gosh, it's hard to get going. Okay, well, we've finished working on the carburettor now. It's in a pretty sorry state, had some water in it definitely, and one block jet, that's for sure. And the gasket was also knackered, so we spent a little bit of time and made up a new gasket for it. Cleaned the carburettor out, sprayed all the jets through, and then used some compressed air. So hopefully now she'll go. She passes fuel through much easier. So it's just a case now of if we've managed to disturb anything, the distributor. Hopefully not. But yeah, let's see if she's going to go. Choker. Goodness.
It's been burnt on the manifold. That's probably not helping. The red shot from it. We'll have to find out what the fixture screw should be set at to begin with. How many turns out it should be. So we'll give the points an adjustment. Lead them up a bit, see if that helps. And we'll get some new lengths of ignition lead on order. We also need to sort out the tap here that turns it from petrol to paraffin. Well, obviously this engine is supposed to run on paraffin. Really, you're only supposed to heat it up on petrol, so this whole manifold won't be helping out from it running on just petrol. So it'll probably run at its best on some heating oil or something. Well, about to run out of fuel anyway. It doesn't take long to use that up. So yeah, you can see that ignition lead there. It's all the way through to the core. It's obviously been touching on the manifold at some point. And it's burnt away. The other one's not too bad, but they've got two different bloody ends on them. Two different boots that go into the distributor as well. So it's not going to be helping us. But yeah, there we go. So I think our next little job will probably be to have the magneto off again. And then we can clean that up properly. Make sure it's got a good ground to the engine. Obviously, in its previous paint job, it's the whole entire flange of the magneto has been painted over. It's got paint on the cat, paint on the distributor, paint blooming everywhere. But yeah, it actually started okay. It's got quite a bit of compression. It's obviously had a good working life though. It seems to be puffing out quite a bit of smoke. So maybe we might look at getting some new rins for it. Have the heads off and just see what's going on in there. It is pretty carboned up from what I can see through the spark plug holes. But yeah, I think should be alright for a little bit of work. Bottom of the cowling's been rusted out at some point. That happens quite a lot on these JAP engines. But yeah, I think we can make something decent out of that. Yeah. Thanks for watching.